Hi, my name is Linsey Willis, and welcome to my first podcast on the Be There movement. In this podcast, I will be discussing bipolar disorder, telling you a little bit about my sister, the purpose of the Be There movement, how you can become involved, uh, the charities that currently support the movement, and I will do some wrap-up comments. In 2021, I don't know if you know this, but an estimated 37 million people, and then a later statistic I read indicated 46 million people in the world, approximately 37 million adults of those were living with bipolar disorder. And the condition is primarily on working age people, but also in youth. My sister started exhibiting bizarre behavior when she was a teenager. And while the prevalence is among men and women, women get diagnosed more often. And there are a multitude of symptoms, but a few of the symptoms under each of the categories are if you're manic, you're really happy, you're excited, you don't need any sleep time, you don't need sleep, you have racing thoughts, you're restless, you can talk nonstop. When you're depressed, which is terrible, I've seen so much of that with my sister, low energy, loss of interest in life, sleeping a lot, difficulty making judgment decisions. And when those judgment decisions are made, they're sometimes terrible. Worldwide, the treatment coverage for the people suffering from this horrible disorder is low. And this is one of the main reasons for the Be There movement and for me having established the Betsy Craig Foundation. And we'll talk more about that as we go along. Both men and women are often misdiagnosed. Many lack access to services and recommended interventions, particularly those in low and middle income countries referred to as LMICs. But of course, we have thousands, if not millions, of people who suffer from bipolar disorder in the United States. I am the author of Be There, my lived experience with my sister's bipolar disorder. You can visit me and interviews I've conducted on my website, BeThereBook.com. And this is where you found this podcast. There are 4 different types of bipolar disorder: bipolar disorder 1, bipolar disorder 2, mixed bipolar disorder, and rapid cycling bipolar disorder. There's stigma and discrimination against people with bipolar disorder, and it's widespread, both in communities and health services. And I see the discrimination and stigma when I'm in New York City walking on the streets. There are people I know who are mentally ill who other people walk away from, okay, or roll their eyes at. It's a horrible illness. And these people aren't just bipolar, but they're also schizophrenic. And this is another reason why I established the Betsy Craig Foundation as a DBA. And I'm setting up the Be There movement. And this is the first opportunity for all of us to be part of this Be There movement together via this podcast. I'm so glad you tuned in. And if you're stigmatized and discriminated against, you're socially excluded. And this limits opportunities for education, employment, and housing. Also, you don't have a job, you have very little access to money, unless, of course, your family helps support you. So there's so many problems for people suffering from bipolar disorder. And the worst thing of all is seeing the people. You're walking down the street and you see somebody pushing a shopping cart or somebody sleeping on the side of the street. And God forbid, if you've ever visited any of the homeless shelters or you go through a big city and you see people in little groups or in little tents on the city streets, that's even horrific. And I can guarantee you many of those people, if not thousands, are suffering from mental illness and more than likely bipolar disorder, but have never been diagnosed and have no way of becoming diagnosed and no money to do so. And of course, nobody wants them on the city streets. It's not in my backyard. Get them away from us, move them away. We don't want to pay for any of this. We don't want our taxes raised. Just get these people out and away from us. That's just the way it is. People with bipolar disorder are also more likely to smoke, have a physical health condition, for example, cardiovascular, respiratory diseases. And they, as I noted previously, have difficulty accessing health care. Sure, if they go to a hospital emergency room, they're not supposed to be kicked out in the streets. They're going to gain some health care services there. And on average, people with bipolar disorder, die 13 years younger than the general population. Did you know that there's some causes of bipolar disorder? One is genetic. My great-grandmother had bipolar disorder, although she wasn't officially diagnosed back then. She was born in, I think, 1874. It's not entirely known what the cause is. Again, neurochemical, environmental factors come into play. And the first linkage occurred for mania in 1969, between mania and genetics. And if one parent has bipolar disorder, there's a 10% chance that his or her child will develop the illness. And if both parents have the disorder, the illness rises to 40%. So pretty sad. Now let's talk a little bit about the wine tastings. I have already hosted 3 wine tastings with Wines for Humanity, which is an American company which is rapidly expanding throughout the United States. They procure wonderful wines from Europe and other countries. The founder is Anton Steinhardt, and he and I have been interviewed. You can go to the website, BeThereBook.com. And the beauty of this company, among other things, having wonderful wine, is they donate 10% of their proceeds to the charity of your choice, which will go to the Betsy Craig Foundation. And I already received my first check, which I will be donating along with other monies I've made from the slow sales of my books to a community counseling organization in Boca Raton, Florida, the Falk Center. So we have established a partnership to schedule and host wine tastings throughout the United States. And I work closely with his senior staff, a wonderful person, Dana Satoris. She's a senior wine consultant with extensive experience and knowledge in marketing and so forth. And we've had successful wine tastings and we've made money. And that's the point. Now, how does that help the people with bipolar disorder? Well, as I mentioned, the money goes into the foundation, but the more raffle tickets that are sold at the event, the more money is raised. And then what do you get for the raffle tickets? You get a basket of wine with 2 beautiful bottles of wine, red and white, with my sister's label, the book cover, on the front of the bottle, a beautiful box of gourmet chocolates from Cristiano's Chocolates in Boca Raton, a canvas tough duffel bag, which you can carry your wine in with the Betsy Craig Foundation logo on it, and of course, my book. You can also buy the book on the website and any other places where the book is sold for a discount. And you can also get it on Kindle, and the audiobook is being finished as we speak. But the wine tastings are wonderful, and people enjoy the wine tastings. I talk a little bit. People are given free food, really good food. You don't have to pay to attend, but obviously we would appreciate a donation through the raffle tickets. It's a really fun time and time to come together. And maybe in the future I would be videotaping some of these events. But one of the interviews in videos is on my website, where we had an event that Anton Steinhardt attended. So that's one of the things we're doing. I'm also going to be traveling to other countries in the near future to set up speaking engagements. I have some wonderful contacts in the Middle East and Africa and Asia, and many people from those countries have already purchased my book. You know, the disorder affects people all over the world, not just the United States, as noted previously. So, what do we want to talk about next? I want to share with you a little bit about the charities that I found on Google. Now, I'm not listing all of them, I'm just going to list a few of them. And you can go to these sites and learn more about the disorder. There's the Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance. There's the National Alliance on Mental Illness. There's the Brain and Behavior Research Foundation, the International Bipolar Foundation, the Child Mind Institute, International Society for Bipolar Disorders, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, which is a U.S. government agency, Brain and Behavior Research Foundation. I think I repeated myself, but you get repeats when you go to Google anyway. Well, you won't forget that one. And they have awarded more than $39 million to bipolar disorder research since 1987. This is fine and dandy. It's great that research is being conducted, and there are foundations and organizations that are studying and helping people with bipolar disorder, but it's not enough. It's not enough. Bipolar disorder does not receive the attention that Alzheimer's, breast cancer, diabetes, and other horrible diseases receive with, for example, their national walks and TV ads. But we need to get out there. I know there's more TV ads now advertising drugs for people suffering with bipolar disorder. That's fine and dandy. But how many of the people suffering from bipolar disorder who were lucky enough to be diagnosed can afford to pay for the medications? This is another purpose of the Be There movement and the Betsy Craig Foundation. Donations to the organizations where I would stipulate, if allowed, the money goes for these different categories. So there won't be, hopefully, abuse in the spending of the money. So let's wrap up. Thank you, first of all, for attending the first podcast. We will be having podcasts. I will be conducting podcasts minimum once a month, hopefully twice a month. We will be scheduling wine tastings throughout the United States. We're currently working on that. The podcast will not just be me talking, but I will be bringing guests on to talk about bipolar disorder and to share their knowledge or experience. I want to mention to you that if you're a member of a Facebook group or you go on TikTok and talk about your illness, I've been to some of those groups and I've listened to some of these people talking. Join us in a podcast. Share with us. Maybe you can come on and be on the podcast and tell everybody about yourself. Maybe I could have a few people, but I'm working on the schedule for this, and we're all big community. Let's come in together as a big community worldwide, Be There movement, where we're all in this together, regardless of where we live, what our status is, where we're located. If we're in a psychiatric hospital at the time and we can tune into a podcast, that would be wonderful, because you don't feel like you're alone. So thank you very much for listening to this podcast, and I hope to see you soon, or hope to at least feel your presence there, and have a wonderful rest of your day.